What is cracking, family? Happy Victory Monday to you all. Let's go. Victory Monday vibes all day today. We don't care how we won, if it was ugly, if it was pretty. We won. We got the dub. 49ers are now 2-0 on the year, headed into Sunday night football against the Green Bay Packers. I would say we're feeling pretty good. I don't know about you guys, but I would say we're feeling pretty good. Again, going into a hostile environment in Philadelphia to go out, squeak out that dub wasn't pretty. It's not always going to be pretty. We see the sourdough gang. Let's go. Um, wasn't going to be pretty always. There's definitely a lot of things that we can pinpoint. We can kind of critique a little bit, and we can get into it and really kind of break down this game from the full story. We now have been able to go back and watch it and kind of get an idea of what was going on in that game. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Victory Monday today. I mean, it's always good, man. It's always good when the 49ers are winning. Always good. We had a ton of fun last night talking all the trash to all the Eagles fans. We pulled all the receipts on the Eagles fans and we just went at them. If you recall, they were not happy about the 49ers fans taking photos with their statue. They were not happy. It was a guaranteed L for the 49ers. We were absolutely going to get our butts whooped, according to Eagles fans, and that was not the case. So every time that the 49ers have a dub and we have an opportunity to celebrate Victory Monday, we absolutely are going to take advantage of that. We see you, my guys. How are we doing? What's up, Sean? So as you guys know, we will get into all of the things. But as a result, what we're going to do first is we're going to go through the news and notes that have come from today, the administrative stuff. Obviously, we're going to talk about the injuries that came from the game, the players that are coming into the building to visit and get worked out. All signs point towards the 49ers signing a running back. Sourdough family in here. We see you, Josh. So there goes our mob right there, helping me out. Good looking. So some of the running backs that have come in today to visit, I would imagine one will get signed. But the running backs that have come in today for workouts have been Duke Johnson, former Texan, former Brown. You have Lamar Miller, former Dolphin, former Texan, TJ Yeldon, former everything, it feels like at this point. Jacksonville Jag, Buffalo Bill. All these guys, in my opinion, are decent to quality backs. If I had to rank them, I would rank Duke Johnson first, TJ Yeldon second, and Lamar Miller third. I think Duke Johnson would be a fantastic addition to this team. He's only 27 or 28 years old, so he's still got some gas in the tank. He's still got some tread on those tires. I think Duke Johnson has been a pretty serviceable back throughout his career. You know, whether it was with the Browns, then he went over to the Texans. He's made good plays, and he has put good plays on tape. It's just being consistent, I think, is Duke's biggest thing. But regarding the scheme that the 49ers run, what they're looking for these running backs to do, I think Duke Johnson fits the mold pretty well. So if I had to pick a running back out of this crew, I would like the 49ers to sign Duke Johnson. Like I said, I think he can be a receiving threat out of the backfield. I think he can be a blocker out of the backfield. And I think he can run outside zone, inside zone, whatever you need him to do. I think Duke Johnson is capable of doing either. So it'll be interesting to see which running back actually gets signed because, again, all signs point to JaMycal Hasty likely being out a couple weeks with a high ankle sprain. Yes, the dreaded high ankle sprain that all of us have PTSD about, that ravaged our 2020 season. High ankle sprain is back, and it has claimed JaMycal Hasty, who's actually been fantastic. JaMychal Hasty has been so good for us. That's why it's a big bummer to hear Hasty could be out for. They didn't give an exact timetable, but as we've seen with high ankles, those things can linger. Those things can hang around and just be a big pain in the ass. So with JaMychal Hasty, he's probably going to be the one that's actually going to miss some time. With Elijah Mitchell, remember he did exit yesterday's game, but he did come back and run, which was a good sign. Kyle Shanahan called it a stinger. Sounds like Mitchell is day to day, but nothing to be overly concerned about, at least from today's reports. Day to day is a great thing. We want our players to be day to day because people and these players go through injuries consistently. So day to day is good news for Elijah Mitchell. With Trey Sermon, oh man, it feels what a tough way to start your NFL career. Probably one of the toughest ways to start your career for running back Trey Sermon. He has been diagnosed with a concussion. He's in the concussion protocol, and you never know. It could be in and out, or it could take 2 to 3 weeks. It just you don't know based on the lingering effects regarding concussions. And as we know, the NFL is going to be extremely precautious with head injuries and how those occur. And again, it was a pretty nasty hit on the back of the head for Trey Sermon. So, I mean, it's not looking good. He could be out this week. He could be back this week. I don't know. We'll have to see. But like I said, the 49ers bringing in 3 running backs. They'll likely sign one. Trenton Cannon actually played against the Eagles. He returned kicks and was actually used in a couple carries. We signed him on Wednesday, and he got game action that Sunday. So again, the injury bug has hit our really deep running back room. Remember, we're already down Jeff Wilson. We're already down Raheem Mostert. We're already down our top 2 backs in this room. So it is going to be something to monitor, something that we'll have to watch all throughout the year because honestly, this offense doesn't move without the run game. It doesn't work when we aren't getting 3 to 4 yard chunk runs a carry, if not more. So this is going to be something that we have to monitor a lot. So shout out our mob for calling that out. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. Alex says he thinks Duke is perfect for us. I agree. I think he's really out of those 3. And again, I like most of them. I think Lamar Miller is definitely on his last leg. I'm not as I wouldn't be as pumped about bringing Lamar Miller in. However, I think these 2 other backs still have some tread on the tires. So I'd absolutely like going after them. I really, really would. IW Team says just tuned in. How about signing Gurley? Again, Gurley hasn't even been discussed. So that would just tell you, like, whenever there's an injury with the team and no one is working out this guy, I would have to imagine there's some lingering issues with his knee. And just I don't know if Gurley has it anymore. Again, he was never the fastest back to begin with. He's a really tough runner in between the tackles. Again, in his prime, Gurley was insane. But when you become broken down and you're dealing with injuries, again, some injuries don't go away. Some just stick around. So with Gurley, he's not being considered by any team. So if Gurley's not being considered by any team, that tells me that he's just not there physically. Physically, he's just not there. Which again, they're going to have information in regard to the medical. They're going to have all that stuff when it comes to deciding if and when they're going to sign a running back. And I don't know. Again, Devontae Freeman got a shot before he did. Le'Veon Bell got a shot before Gurley. I just don't think Gurley. I just think there might be an issue that we might not know about in regards to Gurley. He's He's MIA at this point. I've always loved entertaining bringing Frank Gore back, but even Frank Gore today was quoted saying that he's actually turned down some calls in the NFL because he's setting up a big time boxing match. Uh, so Frank Gore is headed down the celebrity boxing route. Good for him. If he can cash out and get some more money while he's at it, I guess go for it. Would love to see Frank Gore actually running in the NFL, but apparently that might not be the case. So we'll see. I don't think Frank Gore is going to be an option. I think he would have been talked about already if that was the case. Nice. Don't forget to sack that like button. We see you. I like that one. So it is what it is. I don't think Frank Gore's coming through that door. I don't think Gurley's coming through that door. I think honestly that the running backs that we've seen named, I like. Again, I think Duke Johnson could be absolutely serviceable for the 49ers. I think he could. Same with TJ Yeldon. I'm a big TJ Yeldon guy. Again, Yeldon was from Alabama. He's in that lineage of Alabama running backs. He's just never stuck anywhere, but he is a good third down back. Yeldon is kind of very similar to Gallman, if you guys remember Gallman. Yeldon and Gallman are very similar in regards to running style, all that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. I would imagine, like I said, I would imagine that one of these running backs gets signed. We'll be on the lookout though to see if that actually occurs or not. Good transition right here though. Good transition right here. We're going to talk about this. I definitely want to talk about the offensive line. Alex Mack specifically. We'll get into this, but let's get through the rest of the injury notes, and then we'll start diving into some stats from the game. There's some good stats that came out. We see you, Michael. We're doing great. It's Victory Monday. So we're hyped. Looking at some additional injuries, defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw is day-to-day with a knee. Good news. Cornerback Josh Norman popped up on the injury report day-to-day with an ankle. Still day-to-day, so good. Defensive lineman Eric Armstead, same as last week, adductor, likely day-to-day. But the other one that hurts a little bit, that kind of slid under the radar, was D-line Kevin Givens, high ankle sprain, same fate as JaMycal Hasty. Pour one out for our boys, Kevin Givens and JaMycal Hasty. The dreaded high ankle sprain is back. Ooh, I get chills just hearing the word high ankle sprain, because you guys know what that means. It's high ankle pain. That's all we associate high ankle sprains with. It's just emotional and physical pain surrounding our football team. So unfortunately, there's positives and negative to take away from the injury report. The positive is that it appears that we escaped week 2 without any season-ending injuries. Okay, positive, right? We did lose some guys. We lost JaMycal Hasty and Givens to high ankle sprain. Those injuries can range from anywhere from 3 to 6 to 8 weeks. It all depends. It all depends on the severity of the ankle sprain. But that's the negative, is that there's two. Kevin Givens was a high-end rotational player in this defensive line group. He was used a ton. His usage was up there. So that's another guy that's going to have to be replaced. And then again, we know what's going on with the running back situation. That situation will be replaced. There some more additional good news. We're tempering the good news because we don't know. But the word is hope. Hope. The word is hope to get Emmanuel Mosley back this week. If the 49ers can get Emmanuel Mosley back this week, pair him with Diamador Lenore, I have a lot of faith in those two. My confidence for Diamador Lenore has skyrocketed these past 2 weeks. He even had another fantastic game against the Philadelphia Eagles. So really, really like that development. So if Emmanuel Mosley can be back, then I think we're in a good situation. I think we're in a really, really good situation. Um, Back to Diamador Lenore. We'll start to get into some of the stats that we liked. We'll pull some information. We'll talk about it a little bit. Regarding Diamador Lenore, obviously, we know that he had given up the 91-yard reception to Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins, first of all, I'm a huge Quez Watkins guy. Of course, the dynasty situation. Um, I picked up Quez Watkins in every league this year that I could. I think he's that good. I think he's a starting caliber wide receiver. So the fact that Demo got beat by a 4-3 burner, I'm not terribly concerned about it because everything that he did after that was fantastic. Demo was targeted 11 times. Like they tried him. They went after him. The Eagles went after Diamador Lenore, but they weren't very successful. They were only able to reel off a 36.4 completions percentage when targeting Diamador Lenore. Again, he gave up 111 yards, but 91 of them were on that one catch. Passer rating against him was 74.4. For a rookie, going up against a former first-round wide receiver, another first-round wide receiver in Devontae Smith, who is fresh off the Heisman Trophy, and again, Quez Watkins, who I think is a very good wide receiver and will be a starting wide receiver in this league for some time. It's not too bad for the rookie. Not too bad. Chasing Gold wants me to look at a stat that he's got for me. Chasing Gold says, peep this stat. The last completion the Eagles had to a receiver came with 7:12 left in the first half. Wow. I didn't hear that stat. That's a pretty wild stat. So that means they were dumping down the tight ends and running backs for the majority of the time. That is a pretty interesting stat. But for the most part, feel really good. Feel really good about Diamador's rise. Felt like one play that was really, really solid. He had Devontae Smith streaking across the field, and he was sitting there right in Devontae Smith's back pocket, just waiting. You saw him wait for the ball to be released. Waiting in that hip pocket, you saw him undercut the route and try to obstruct it. Ball wasn't perfectly placed, but still great positioning. And if the ball was put in proper position, Diamador would have an opportunity to pick it. Again, we saw Diamador's. I'm looking at it as a high IQ situation. At first, it felt like he just kind of got beat a little bit on that Reagor non-touchdown. Again, that got called back. That would have been a massive swing in momentum for this game. Again, this 49ers team could have lost this game if a couple points were added to the board that got taken off. For example, the Jalen Reagor touchdown that got taken off. I talked about this yesterday, but it's a veteran move, man. It's a veteran move. When we're breaking down cornerbacks, we're always talking about the ability to locate the football. It's one thing to be in phase and to be in position to make a play as a cornerback, but if you don't turn your head around and you don't locate the ball, it really doesn't matter because the NFL quarterbacks are going to back shoulder you. They're going to throw it over the top based on your positioning. If you're not locating the football, they're coming after you. Well, what I really liked about the Diamador Lenore play on the Reagor touchdown was the fact that, one, he got into position. And when he got into position on Reagor, that's when he looked back for the ball. And as he's looking back for the ball, you see him change his leverage in his body. To ensure that he was staying with his receiver, he turned and then leaned. He leaned his weight onto the wide receiver, forcing the wide receiver to go out of bounds. So again, that's just high IQ. Again, one, the ability to go and locate the football, having the cerebral awareness and timing to turn back and locate the ball. But meanwhile, knowing you're not going to get flagged for contact when your head is turned. So when your head is turned, it becomes incidental contact. So the second he turned his head, he started leaning into the wide receiver. And as a result, the wide receiver goes out of bounds. And that's it. That's all she wrote. So I'm looking at that as just like that's a cerebral play because it didn't look like it was by accident. It looked like he turned his head, knew what he was doing, and started leaning. Really, really liked it a lot. Um, thought it was really, really good play. Um, Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward had another good game. I know a lot of people think back to the one touchdown that he gave up against the Lions, which you look at it, he just kind of over pursued a little bit. He got his hips out of whack, and DeAndre Swift made him pay as a result. But in that game, in that Detroit game, multiple stop after multiple stop, and then also against the Eagles, he did a couple of the same things. A couple opportunities where Jimmy Ward is the literal last line of defense, or else it's a touchdown. Jimmy Ward comes up, makes the tackle, does a really good job. He's not getting targeted at all. In coverage, he's everywhere. So really, really like what Jimmy Ward is doing. Now, again, it's not going to be perfect every play. You can find maybe a play or two where maybe Ward gets caught out of position, but consistently, when we stack all the plays together and we start tracking and we start analyzing, um, Ward is doing a really good job. These guys are going to get beat. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And for the most part, he is winning much more than he is losing. So Ward is doing a fantastic job. He's only been targeted once this entire year. Only been targeted once this entire year. Um, been doing absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about Bosa. Let's talk about the return of Bosa. So we're starting to see Bosa get ramped up a little bit. So I still don't think, even with what we saw yesterday, is peak Bosa yet. We still haven't seen peak Bosa yet. Week one, he was used for 55% of the snaps against the Lions. Week two, that hopped up to 76% of the snaps. So he is getting involved much more. And I think that will only continue to ramp up week three and week four. I honestly say next week against Green Bay and the following week after that against Seattle in week four, that's when we're going to see Bosa. Like Bosa's still getting into shape, man. Bosa's still getting into shape. Again, remember, entire training camp, we were there. That dude did not participate in team period. He participated in every practice up until team period. Team period is a real portion of practice. And so when team period hits, Bosa's just warming up on the side against bags, against air, not really doing anything all summer because they were keeping him safe. So these last two games, this is the first real contact that Nick Bosa is seeing. And you can see that he's already ramping up to speed just after two games. Just going from Detroit to Philly, you can see the progression. You can see the ramping up. You can see his moves are starting to fall into a place a little bit better. You could see with Penei Sewell, he was just getting stuck a little bit. Like he would just go up against Penei, try to hit his first initial move, and Penei would just kind of suffocate him a little bit. What I really think Bosa did making the transition from Sewell to Mailata, who again was a fantastic tackle, you start to see more of the counter moves. His counter moves started to fall into place a little bit better, which resulted into him getting 2 sacks. I believe he had 3 total pressures. I thought it was hilarious that they didn't count the sack from Mailata as a sack against him. Again, I put out the tweet earlier: men lie, women lie, but tape don't lie ever. tape never lies, man. The tape never lies. You can classify anything based on what subcategory you think it fits into, what stat or number you think should be associated with it. But at the end of the day, the tape doesn't freaking lie, man. And and Nick Bosa wrecked some havoc. He was doing some work off that edge. He really was. Another guy that was doing really well, Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead's quietly becoming a menace this year. I know he hasn't been flashy in regards to some of the stats, but I think he's tied. I think he's tied in the NFL right now, leading pressures. So he hasn't gotten home, but he's getting pressure, and which is what we want. We want interior guys to create pressure. I know there's a big emphasis on sacks, but sacks is, in my opinion, is more of like a team stat in a sense. Sometimes you can get a sack based on coverage. If you got great coverage behind you and the quarterback has nowhere to get the ball, he's going to hold on to it too long, and that allows guys to get sacks. That can contribute to multiple different factors. But the key thing that, in my opinion, that means the most, especially for interior defensive linemen, is pressure. If you are creating pressure up the middle as an interior defensive lineman, you are making life miserable for an opposing offensive line, quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. The best way to steamroll another team is generate interior pressure up the middle with your defensive lineman, and that's exactly what Eric Armstead is doing. Eric Armstead is quietly having a good year. Eric Armstead is quietly having a good year. He might not have the numbers in regards to sack totals, but his pressures are up there, and he is having a really solid season so far. Again, it doesn't show up on the stat total, but it's really nice. He had six total pressures. Six total pressures. The next best was Nick Bosa with three, which were sacks. The next guy after that, who is the next guy with the most pressures, do you think? Who do you think led? It's actually a three-way tie for pressures on defense. Who do you guys think those three guys are that tied with well, I didn't say his name yet. There's a three-way tie for third place with pressures on this team. I see a D Ford. Ding, correct. So we got one of the three. D Ford had two pressures. Who is the other two players that had two pressures? I can't get an or. I need one. I need one answered. Ebukam, or I'm sorry, Bosa got the three pressures, so not him. Ebukam, not in there. We already got, so again, Bosa, three pressures. We're looking for the three players tied with two pressures. There we go. We got a Kinlaw. Kinlaw had two pressures. We already got D Ford with two pressures. Right? There we go. D Ford had the other two pressures. Who was the remaining player to have two pressures on that defensive line? Anyone? DJ Jones, Street, Kinlaw. There it is. Arden Key. Arden Key, I think, is someone that is like this close to blowing up. I think Arden Key is like this close to like having a 2-sack game. Again, we were breaking down the Detroit Lions game. We were doing the film study on the channel, and we were like watching something else. And all of a sudden, like out of the corner of my eye, I realized like Arden Key just completely demolished his guy, set up outside move, inside counter, almost got a strip sack. The ball got out like just a second before he got there. Arden Key is someone that quietly is making a name for himself as well, in regards to being a pass rusher. I think Arden Key is like this close away from having like a 2-sack game. Like he is close. He's getting really close. And he's generating pressures. And again, if we look back at this list, I saw Kentavious Street got some votes as well. Coach put out DJ Jones, Street, or Kinlaw. Kinlaw got 2 pressures. Street got one pressure. Excuse me, one pressure. No DJ Jones pressure that I can see. So overall, this D line needs a little respect. Oh, hell yeah, dude. When Jordan Willis comes back, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Credit the D line for bringing out the best of these guys. Chris Korsek, absolutely. This is one thing that I wanted to talk about. Kentavious Street, he looks good, dude. Like the combination of Kentavious Street and Javon Kinlaw on the interior of that defensive line, I feel really good about. Like I almost feel better about having Kentavious Street in there than DJ Jones. Now I think DJ Jones is a fantastic one tech, zero tech pass rusher. I think he's really good rushing on passing situations over the center. However, he's not the most stout interior run defender. Street, in my opinion, is the best of both worlds. Street has I think he's the next best interior defensive tackle, at least through 2 games. I feel pretty confident saying Kentavious Street is the second best interior defensive lineman. I still think Javon is the first. And Javon can still get a whole lot better. Again, Javon, okay, maybe Javon didn't put up a ton of crazy stats, right? He didn't fill up the stat sheet in that regard. We didn't see him get a bunch of tackles or anything like that. But here's a perfect example of his impact. Javon Kinlaw took 3 points off the board by himself. I think when we go back, I've went back and watched. If you guys have gone back and watched, you will notice that game could have got out of control really quickly for the 49ers. Like the 49ers had a little bit of luck. Again, luck and preparation combined, right? It's not many mistakes occur from that. But with Javon Kinlaw blocking that field goal to keep those 3 points off the board. Again, I talked about it going into halftime. I was like, it feels like it's 21-0 right now. It feels like it's 21-0, but I think the 49ers were in the lead 7-3. I was like, it's 7-3 49ers, but it feels like we are down by 21. Big part of that was the heads-up play by Deommodore Lenoir. Again, remember pushing Reagor out of bounds. Another heads-up play by Javon Kinlaw to go up there and bat that field goal attempt. Huge impact. Like that alone helped set the momentum for that game, helped allow the 49ers offense to get the ball back and get momentum going in the right direction. I don't think people are really giving Javon Kinlaw the credit he deserves for that field goal block. Like huge for keeping points off the board, huge for swinging momentum back to the team. And that's when we started to see the offense start to pick up a little bit. So shout out to Kinlaw. And again, his first game of this year. He's going to be a slow ramp up as well. So Javon Kinlaw, I think he's going to need some time before we see the real Javon Kinlaw. But really, really, really like that. And again, shout out my guy, Jordan Elliott on Twitter @SplashCousin. Right now, shout out Jordan. He's holding it down for the Eric Armstead Truthers right now on Twitter, and he's doing a fantastic job. One of the tweets that he put out was Eric Armstead has 15 pressures through 2 games. Again, Eric Armstead has 15 pressures through 2 games. That is more than every single player in the league not named Max Crosby, who has 19. So again, let's say that again. Eric Armstead has 15 pressures through 2 games. That is more than anyone else in the NFL other than Max Crosby. It's Max Crosby and Eric Armstead right now have the most pressures, and that's how these guys need to be graded and need to be evaluated through that lens. Eric Armstead is having a good year. Like through 2 weeks, Eric Armstead's having a good year. So we'll continue to see how that translates to being on film and all of that, but it's all aligning. It's all matching up. The numbers are matching up with the tape. The tape is matching up with the numbers. It's all working out really, really well. It really is. So, in regards to the D line, obviously we've had some ups and downs, but for the most part, they are headed in the right direction. So really, really like what's happening there. Who has the most sacks in the league? Ooh, good question. I feel like that might be Crosby as well. Or no, it could be Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones had the 5 sack game, right? That ridiculous game. Absolutely insane. Love how the 49ers reporters are scared to ask the wrong question to Javon Kinlaw. They should be scared. I would be terrified. I talk about this all the time. Like Javon Kinlaw is probably one of the most terrifying people I've ever seen. Like he just looks like he wants to hit you. Like Javon Kinlaw just standing there minding his own business, not just minding his own business, looks like he wants to hit you. And that's what I like about him. He's a freak, dude. So I'm super excited to see how he's going. Yep. And Joshua says it. D-line is meshing at the right time. And we're about to come after Aaron Rodgers on this Sunday on prime time. Again, they're down. They're starting left tackle. So they're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. But for the most part, really, really happy with the D-line in general. So let's take a swing over to the offense. Shout out Leo Luna, gold 49ers gold mine for this one. Deebo Samuel, man, right now. Deebo Samuel is playing at the shades that we saw of him as a rookie. That dominance that Deebo showed as a rookie seemingly faded out in 2020, but again, 2020 just an awful year in general. Deebo Samuel is having himself a year so far. When it comes to receptions versus zone coverage, he's second in the NFL with 13 catches. In yards versus zone coverage, he's second in the NFL. And yak versus zone coverage, he has 102 yards. Guess what? He's first. Don't run zone against Deebo. Deebo's going to find that zone. He's going to find the soft spot. He's going to sit it down, and then he's going to feast in your face. Deebo Samuel is – so, again, there's a reason why after Deebo Samuel's rookie year, if you guys remember the draft coverage leading up to that next draft in 2020, in the combine, at the Senior Bowl, the segments that the NFL Network would run over and over and over and over again was finding the next Deebo. That's what they were obsessed about. That entire pre-draft process, after Deebo Samuel's freshman year, or rookie year, I should say, it was finding the next Deebo because that's how good Deebo was as a rookie. He got hurt as a sophomore, wasn't able to play at that same level, and everyone wrote him off. Everyone wrote him off like he didn't even exist anymore. So from 1 year, it went from finding the next Deebo to no one even gave a crap about Deebo by the end of that year. Well, I think we're seeing Deebo, like, take note of that. I think we're seeing him take note of that. He knows that everyone wrote him off. Again, you can look at that from a fantasy perspective. You can look at that from a 49er fan perspective. You can look at that from a league-wide perspective. Everyone wrote Deebo Samuel off after his poor sophomore season. Even fans are talking about trading him, all that stuff. So the fact that Deebo Samuel has come out, and by all accounts, based on things that Jimmy Garoppolo is saying, other leaders are saying, Deebo Samuel is stepping and elevating himself into kind of a leadership role. So Deebo Samuel has done a fantastic, fantastic job so far this year, and with everything that he's doing. Absolutely, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And with Deebo Samuel, I think he could still even get better. I think he has an opportunity to put up even more production than he has been. Again, the offense hasn't really been clicking. Like if we take a step back, to take a holistic view at the offense of what we are expecting them to try to be executing, what we assume they're working towards, and what they're trying to do, I think you could take a look back, an objective look, and be like, they're not firing on all cylinders yet. I don't think the 49ers offense is firing on all cylinders yet. I still feel like they're still trying to get that rhythm. Like when we see those long drives put together, we want to see those long drives, not just on that one drive. I think they had like a 12 or 13-yard drive that took up like 12 minutes or something insane. I don't have it exactly off the top of my head, but they had an insanely long drive against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's because the offense was clicking and they were firing and everything was working together. That hasn't necessarily been the case, even going back against Detroit, going back against the Eagles. So, but that is also something that I'm okay with. I'm okay with because, in my opinion, I see so many opportunities for this 49ers team to become more efficient, more explosive, and 3 times more dynamic than what they have shown. Coach helping me out saying that the 49ers had 2 of those long drives, 2 90-yard drives. I want these every I want the I'm getting what's the word? I'm getting greedy. You know, I want these every drive. I want to come out and feel like the 49ers are out here executing what they want to do. Not what they have to do, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. I think there's a difference. I think the 49ers are kind of doing what they have to do, not necessarily what they want to do. And if you know anything about Kyle Shanahan and what he has to do versus what he wants to do, there's a substantial difference. And I really think that what the 49ers are going to continue to rep and work on as they get further down the year is doing what they want to do rather than doing what they have to do, if that makes sense. For example, against the Eagles, remember all the screens? Remember all the screens they were running? They were running screens because they had to run screens. They weren't running screens because they wanted to run screens. They needed to help and aid that offensive line by trying to get those defensive linemen to over pursue upfield and then bite them with screens. And the reason why that's beneficial in two ways, you leverage the 49ers pass or Eagles pass rush to get upfield, but it also does 2 things because now on the next plays that come around, they're worried about screen. They're worried about screens. They're not worried. So they're more concerned about playing the line of scrimmage and keeping their eyes in the backfield and things like that. That's why they're running screens. I don't think Kyle wants to run screens. I think he knew he had to run screens. So that's kind of an example of what I'm talking about versus having to do something versus wanting to do something. And I still think we're in the having to do something phase of Kyle's offense. So the hope is with his entire offense, again, we're speaking holistically, big picture view out. Still not where he wants it to be. I don't think it's where they want it to be, I don't think they want to grind it out like they've been having to grind it out. Um, but I think it's all part of the setup. So we'll see. We'll see. Coach says, spoke like a true trench dog. You know it, my guy. Long drives all day. We just want to run the football over and over again and just drive, drive, drive. 100%. We like to tenderize the meat. There's a huge psychological advantage you take over defense on long drives. It breaks their will, and that's what offensive linemen love. They love it. Like that's why you hear those clips of George Kittle, run it again, run it again. It's because like you're owning the other team and you want to keep owning them. You want to go after them. And that's what I want to see. And that allows you to be more less reactionary in regards to doing what you have to do, right? And doing versus what you want to do. When you're driving the ball and they can't stop, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. And that's where I want the 49ers offense to be. And they're not there yet. They aren't. Anthony C says, if Jimmy can improve his accuracy, this offense can really explode. But at this point in his career, is that even possible? Glad to see him mobile again, Doe. I like the Doe. Um, I Jimmy can be accurate. He can be accurate, but just like anything else along football, is you have to do it consistently. You have to be consistently accurate. You can't be half accurate. You can't be three quarters accurate. You have to be accurate like consistently. And so I think with one of the things in regards to what Anthony's saying, yeah, you could see some issues with the accuracy. Him throwing it maybe a step or two behind his wide receivers. Obviously, we saw a couple sail. Um, I'll defend Jimmy and say one of the ones that sailed on him, he had to let that thing rip because he had a defender coming down right in his face. So some I think are excusable, and then you look at others and you're like, yeah, we could probably do a lot better on that because I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about, for example, the Sanu play, right? The Sanu is like like a 15-yard out towards the sideline. Sanu won the route off the jump, and really all Jimmy had to do was just kind of lay it in there. It was outside the numbers pass. Again, Jimmy does have trouble being accurate outside the numbers and deep. Those are his two problem areas. And we saw a situation where he missed Sanu. Well, and then we saw a situation where he comes back and he hits Aiyuk. Still a really hard catch for Aiyuk, but he did it. With Jimmy Garoppolo, I think this comes down to mental. It's not an ability issue. I think his accuracy is a mental issue. And if he can be confident with himself, confident with the timing of the routes, confident with his offensive line, confident with his reads, I think that makes him accurate. I think it's when he's not confident in his reads, not confident in his timing is when he becomes inaccurate. So I don't think like he can get more accurate. Again, he'll come out, likely have a game where he's just darts. It's when, and again, Jimmy did this in practice and training camp as well, at least from what I've seen. Jimmy was throwing darts all training camp. Dart, 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 dart. Threw a pick and it crumbled. So we haven't seen that yet. So the biggest thing I think with Jimmy is again being consistent. That's his rallying cry this year. Is being consistent with his accuracy, consistent with his timing, consistent in the way that he reads the defense and executes with timing. It's really, really what I think is what is going on. Let's see. I saw someone bring it up. Where'd it go? I'll talk about this for sure. The offensive line has been really good. They have been really good. They have been getting some they'll get hate always. It's the most thankless position. It's the most misunderstood position. For example, Brunskill, from what I saw, he got demolished on the first play of the game from Twitter because the defensive lineman jumped off sides and blew him up as he's trying to pull. As it goes for an offensive lineman, if I have a head up defensive tackle and I'm pulling to the left, I should never have to worry about that head up defensive tackle. I should never have to worry about that head up defensive tackle. If I'm pulling to the left, I should have enough time to be able to get on my track and get out of there. But the problem is when the defensive tackle jumps off sides and he's in the neutral zone before that you can even take your step and he blows Brunskill up, everyone's like, oh, it's Brunskill. It's like, yeah, it's not Brunskill. But I would say the addition of Alex Mack, like you mentioned, has been insane. I noticed it day one of pads and training camp, and it's been like that all the way throughout. Alex Mack does so much because, again, people I think have a hard time really understanding that offensive line play, you play as a unit. Like it's a team within the team. It's not like the defensive line where you have waves of guys and different rotations. It's not, and like they work together because they do stunts and things like that. But in regards to the offensive line, like these guys work together. It's a unit. They call it the offensive line unit for a reason. And the biggest thing with Alex Mack when you plop him in the middle is that you're typically sending 3 to 4 guys one direction every play, either right or left, based on the alignment of the Mike linebacker. The Mike linebacker, or who is ever you're perceiving to be the Mike linebacker, tells you which direction the offensive line needs to shift. Again, the offensive line doesn't just stand still. They're either shifting to the right or shifting to the left, depending on the call out of the Mike linebacker. And so the thing is when you have a center, the center can help so much. He can help with the guards to each side of him. Hell, he can even help with the tackles. I think I had gone on to Leo Luna's podcast on Niners Nation. God, I think it was like back in January. And it was an O-line episode, and they're like, well, they wanted to know, like, what are the issues surrounding the 49ers offensive line last year? Like, why was it such a really hard year for that O-line? And I just kept hitting home on the concept of taking Brunskill and putting him at center and how that was creating so many issues along that front. In regards to calling out protections, calling out Mike, doing all those different things. Again, Brunskill being able to aid where he is supposed to aid as a center. He doesn't know. He's still learning the position for his damn self. So the fact that you could stick Mack at center, kick Brunskill back to right guard, it's completely changed the dynamic of this offensive line. Even in a situation where Brunskill, it appeared like he got beat. I even thought he got beat when I was watching the live broadcast. I went back. He actually does a really good job of basically stock blocking his guy, and Elijah Mitchell just runs straight into him. So that appears in real time to be an O-line issue, but you go back, you take a look, you pick it apart, and you're like, all right, this running back probably could have made a little better bit of a cut on that one. So I think in the grand scheme of thing, though, regarding the 49ers offensive line, I think they have been dramatically improved. Again, Trent Williams, we'll start with Trent Williams. Trent Williams has been dominant, just absolutely dominant, nonstop dominant. I don't know if PFF grades reflect his true dominance or not, but it feels like he is pancaking someone every other play. Trent Williams has been absolutely fantastic. Laken Tomlinson has been really good. Laken Tomlinson is doing Laken Tomlinson's things, just being as steady as they come, consistent, doing his assignments and doing everything. Again, we talked about Alex Mack, his contributions to this team. What Alex Mack is doing, again, you see it. Whenever you see him throw his hand up, whenever Alex Mack sticks his hand up in the air, he's stopping the play. He's stopping the play to change protection. And you see that more often than not. I remember seeing it. I remember seeing Alex Mack do this in training camp and just felt so happy as a former offensive lineman to see something like that occur that wasn't happening. Brunskill wasn't masterful enough of the offense to be able to understand the defensive scheme and how you have to set protections against it, blitz pickup, all that kind of stuff. Like there's so much stuff that goes into that. And when I was at training camp and you see the whole offense, Jimmy's getting ready to go, he's getting ready to say hike, and you just see Alex Mack's hand go up and everyone just stops, including Jimmy. And then you see Alex Mack barking out protection. You see him telling like which way to slide. He's calling out the mic. He switched the mic is what he did. And then the protection was adjusted as a result. And then I got to see the whole offensive line just like a symphony work together to create a pocket around Jimmy Garoppolo. That's Alex Mack. That's what Alex Mack does. So absolutely love, and you're seeing it in game. How many quarterback sneaks do we have? Three for three on quarterback sneaks. Shout out Alex Mack. Remember, we tried to do stuff like that last year. It just wasn't great. It wasn't great. We tried to run quarterback sneaks in 2020. Didn't have the best success. It's completely different with Alex Mack up there because he's literally like a freaking Mack truck. He literally just moves bodies. And what Jimmy does is he just rides his back and either falls into the left or the right side. And it's been beautiful. Again, those quarterback sneaks, you don't do that without a guy like Alex Mack. You don't do that without a guy who can just dig out nose tackles that are trying to stop you from doing that. If you go back and you watch those quarterback sneaks, Alex Mack submarines the nose tackle. So again, playing offensive line's a game of leverage, right? So Alex Mack literally dives at the defensive tackle's knees, which then creates the leverage and the ability for Jimmy to fall forward. Again, just veteran stuff, man. Just veteran stuff with Alex Mack. Again, Brunskill. I thought Brunskill had a worse off game. I'll be honest. I thought Brunskill didn't have the best game. Watching it live, again, that's why I always go watch the tape. Went back and watched it. I was like, oh, thank goodness, because Brunskill's my guy. And again, we talk about Brunskill all the time. He's not going to win with power. He's not a power guy. He's a finesse offensive lineman. He wins with speed. He wins with technique. That translates. He's going to get tossed every once in a while. I think people just need to recognize like what we're working with. We're working with a guy starting at right guard making $800,000 this year. This dude is making $800,000 this year. Like, let's put everything into the proper context. Like, this is like his first full true season starting at one position. Like, give this guy some time. But like I said, went back, I watched the tape, and you could see why something looked like a loss and when it wasn't, and actually other situations where he's performed pretty well. So although initially, like I said, Brunskill, I thought he had a little bit more struggles against the Eagles, went back, very happy about it. Mike McGlinchey, same thing. I still need to do more on McGlinchey. Like I said, I was more focused on interior offensive line on my first go around. McGlinchey, I think, had a little bit more of a up and down game compared to his week one game where he's really clean. Like I said, I got to go back and watch. I think of the one play that Grant Cohn posted where he got beat by Sweat, and Sweat is a good defensive end. But you can see why he got beat. You can look at it, and this is some of the things that we talked about with Mike McGlinchey. Is this guy can't stop his feet. He's got to keep a wide base, and he's got to keep the feet moving. The problem is when he isn't sure if the guy is setting up outside or inside speed, he stops his feet. And so on that play that Grant posted, that's what had happened. He was kind of jockeying back and forth between like, do I bite on the inside move or the outside move? And it got his feet stopped. And then so all Sweat did, swipe hands, rip through. And when your feet are stopped as an offensive lineman, you're in a tough spot. And so one of the good things that Mike McGlinchey has done is he has worked on that. He's attacked that. You see him. I saw him make those strides in training camp. I saw him make those strides in week 1. And again, it's not going to be perfect. If you follow me, you follow my evaluations of offensive line, I talk about Mike McGlinchey from 2020 to 2021. He's made improvements. He's identified the issues. All the issues technically that I have identified with Mike McGlinchey, he has improved on every single one. Now, just because you're improving doesn't mean you're done. It just means that he's on the right track. So we just got to keep going down that right track until that becomes like literal habit and all that kind of stuff. So again, he's at a disadvantage because of the perception about him, and he had a really tough 2020 year. Um, but for the most part, at least from what I saw yesterday, he did a decent job. Again, I saw issues where he had really solid technique, or I saw plays where he had really solid technique, and then plays where wasn't as great. And he would probably tell you the same exact thing. Overall, though, the offensive line as a whole, playing against an extremely stout defensive line. Again, we talked about this all week. Literally all week we talked about. I would not stop talking about the trenches. Oh, this is going to be a game in the trenches. This is going to be a game in the trenches. And what that translates for offensive linemen is means you're going to get beat. Good trench play in like when you're going up against good trenches, that means like that's like almost like a warning to you guys. Like, hey guys, the offensive lineman's going to get beat a couple times on this game. Their defensive line's that good. Like, be prepared. I just feel like this fan base is so like sensitive to O-line beats that they just don't realize it's a part of being offensive lineman. You lose as an offensive lineman. That's why it's the most thankless, difficult position to play, because you only get recognized when you make a mistake. What's this? What are we talking? We got a Javi Bomb live. Javi Bomb live in the chat. I'm way behind. He says, "Hey Brad, long time listener, first time caller." But what is this Miami and Jimmy G interest? I don't know. If you guys are familiar, Tua had to get carted off, right? Last week. Tua had to get carted off yesterday. I think he's dealing with some rib things. I didn't see how serious it was. I don't know. But interesting. Javi's tapped in, man. Javi's tapped in. So he's saying he's hearing Miami and Jimmy G interest. It makes sense to me. Miami has a lot of New England Patriots ties. A lot of New England Patriots ties. So that could make sense, especially if Tua is going to be out for a long time. They do have Jacoby Brissett, but it is what it is. This one doesn't come to my mind in regards to Brunskill, but I have to go look it back for sure. I still have a lot more watching to do. I'm not done yet. Coach says O-line did an amazing job considering Philly flooded the box. Facts. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. Facts. Stunts, shooting gaps, twists. Facts. They were determined not to get ran on in the interior. Facts. 100%, coach. And that's hard for an offensive lineman to make adjustments to. And they did a decent job at it. And I think they deserve a little bit more credit, for sure. As a total offensive line, they gave up 0 sacks yesterday, and they only gave up 5 pressures. I can live with that all day. My D lineman, if my O line is only giving up 5 pressures, again, it will happen. Offensive linemen will give up pressures. Offensive linemen will give up sacks. It's a guarantee. Just like a cornerback is gonna get beat deep. It's a guarantee. So I think we just have to be a little bit more calloused to the fact that our offensive linemen will get beat every once in a while, and it's okay that we don't have to freak out every time it happens. My goodness. Yep, our O-line is good, man. Our O-line is good. Be quiet. Let's see. Catching up on the comments really quick. Most of the just spent a long time on the offensive line. Wide receiver wise, talked about Deebo Samuel. Juwan Jennings had his first touchdown catch. Shout out Juwan Jennings. From my understanding, he wasn't the primary. Kittle was the primary. They doubled him, left Juwan Jennings wide open. You go to shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to Jimmy, not sticking on the primary. Again, half the battle is being able to locate the open wide receivers. So shout out Jimmy for being able to identify that the coverage was blown and to find the correct wide receiver. And we got an easy touchdown as a result. Luke says, Brad, what are your thoughts on Norman when E-Man comes back? Do you think it'll be Norman with E-Man? No, I don't. I think it's Demo. I think you have to ride Demo unless they really think that Demo gives them a better shot in the slot, which I don't necessarily think. I'm really comfortable. This is me speaking, my opinion only. I'd feel really comfortable sitting Josh Norman down in favor of Diamador Lenore. Now, Diamador Lenore could use some more seasoning, could use some more time. But I think he's playing at a high enough level where he isn't showing that he's necessarily a liability. So if he's not a liability, let's get him the reps and get him out there and get him some more opportunity. I'm leaning towards keeping Diamador out there. I don't want to take him off the field just yet. Don't want to take him off the field just yet. They didn't give an exact timetable on Hasty being out. However, we're anticipating anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. Could be 8 weeks. Might be some time. Unfortunately. Yeah, exactly. I would. This is what I would feel comfortable with. Give me this. I want this because this is the future. Again, we put my GM cap on. We Brad the ageist, the roster builder, the GM. I look at E-Man and Lenore right now as my future. So if Lenore again isn't a liability and is a perfect opportunity for him to gain experience, I'm going E-Man Lenore, and I'm not even thinking twice about it. Like Lenore or Josh Norman, you're a great asset to have, but we're going to sit you on the bench, and we want you to help mentor the rook. That's how I would do it. I'm always going to lean potential and young guys first, but that's my GM cap. Damn. Scott says Sermon still thinks he's in Philly. Yeah, I don't know if he plays. He got rocked. Poor guy. Let's see. Sorry, I'm catching up. I'm way behind. Catching up on the comments. We didn't see Trey. Fine with that. I'm absolutely fine that we didn't see Trey. Got to play Trey in the zone read against Packers with RB limitations. Sneak some throws in and let him run. Honestly, I'm not a 2 quarterback guy, even with Trey. Because this is my thing. Like when we weren't able to get the offense moving, the only thing that I could think about was what it would look like if Trey Lance was in. When we couldn't get the offense moving, the only thing that I could think about is like this offense would be moving with Trey Lance, because then again, you bring in the threat of the zone read, you bring in the ability to play 11 on 11 football, which is not the case with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, even that one play, remember that end around thing, Deebo Samuel? Remember that end around thing where I think it was like on a 3rd down conversion, or they're trying to get a first down on a 3rd down, and it was like this little Deebo zone read handoff, but then you had Kittle coming under, like ready to accept the pitch. If honestly, I went back and watched that play, if Trey Lance is running that play, he's not handing the ball off to Deebo. And he's not pitching it on the under to Kittle. He's pulling it and he's running for 60 yards around the sideline. That's the difference. Those are the things that are the small subtleties where it's like that ended up being a stop of downs. We had to punt, all that kind of stuff. But the overall play design was there, but you're having the wrong person run the play. You're having the wrong person run the play. If Trey Lance, who's actually would tuck it and run, he read the defense, the defender, the DN crashed hard. So it would have been a real easy pull for the quarterback, and then he would have been gone again. Went from a stuffed first down attempt on a play that if Trey is running it, are there different results? Does that defensive end stay home because Trey's there, which then gives like again. So if you're gonna have a quarterback and you're gonna start Jimmy, start Jimmy. Like that's just it is just what it is. Like I don't like the dual quarterback thing. I don't like the dual quarterback thing. Because that's what happens. I'm just sitting there every time I'm watching Jimmy. I'm like, I'm thinking about what Trey's doing. I'm like, well, Trey would have probably done this. Trey would have probably done that. Just like, damn it. Oh man. Oh man. Anyways, let me try and get through some of these comments. Oh, Don Burr appearance. I'm so behind on these comments. Hold on. Hold up. Yeah, I'm way behind. All right. Let me try and speed up here. Let's see. Are we going to face better offense and defensive lines in the past two games? I would say defensive line. They Green Bay Packers, I think, lost Za'Darius Smith. I don't think Za'Darius Smith will be available. He was a huge impact piece. I think they have good interior defenders. I believe Clark. I'm blanking on their entire roster, but I don't think they're going to be as good as the Eagles. I think the Eagles are solid in regards to offensive line and defensive line. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Trying to catch up. Can't see the 49ers trading Jimmy G at this point unless it's a deal they can't pass up. I kind of agree. Again, his contract is fully guaranteed at this point. Would be hard to see him get moved at this point unless it was like, oh, whoa, starting cornerback or first round pick or something like that. Like, it'd be hard to see at this point. So Dolo Knight says we trade Jimmy right now. We miss the playoffs. Very well could be. Let's see. Trying to pick up. Streaming when Grant Cohn the GOAT streams means less viewers for you. This is very true. I have no idea when Grant's schedule is. No idea. But that man knows how to bring in the viewers. Shout out Grant. He knows how to bring in the viewers. Probably not the best strategy to go live when he's live, but I have zero idea when he's live. I have no idea. So maybe in the future, but we'll just keep on keeping on. And if you want to watch Grant, that's perfectly fine. You can come back and watch this stream later. Go ahead, go watch Grant's stream now. Then as long as you come back and watch the stream, then we're okay, right? Oh my goodness. Let's see. Trying to catch up. Skipping over a bunch of stuff. All right, you know what? Screw it. I'm skipping over. I'm straight to the end. So actually, I'll turn it over to you guys. If you guys have any comments or concerns, questions, whatever, feel free to let me know. I'll look at you guys to kind of drive the last let's say 5 minutes of the show. We'll go to 120 and we'll call it a day. Because it's Victory Monday, all kinds of stuff. Coach says Jimmy G is making me miss him if we move him. He's not even gone yet. Coach already misses him. That type of veteran leadership is needed right now. Trey is learning so much. Honestly, I feel absolutely fine. Just roll with Jimmy. He's paid. He's clearly the captain. Just run with Jimmy until Jimmy can't run no more. That's the vibe. Honestly. Brandon Aiyuk update. He got more snaps. He got more snaps this game than Trent Sherfield. However, usage and he's not targeted as much. So here, this is my thing with Brandon Aiyuk. Again, I look at this team through so many different lenses. Fantasy football guy, just pure football fan, a 49er fan who runs a literal brand around the team. Like, there are so many lenses that I view this team, and I'll try and give you my honest takeaway of what's going on with Brandon Aiyuk. In my opinion, Brandon Aiyuk did not come into training camp focused. He did not come in prepared for a competition. As a result of not being focused and prepared for a competition, he wasn't able to meet the standard that was set in front of him by both Trent Sherfield and Kyle Shanahan. As a result, he is just not meeting the standards that they want from him from a maturity standpoint. And as a result, they give the nod to Trent Sherfield week 1, which Brandon Aiyuk has since come out and said he was surprised by the way he was used against Detroit, essentially saying he wasn't anticipating to be used like that. That was a surprise to him. Typically, if you're injured, which was the narrative that we were being pushed down our throats, if he was injured, there is a plan of attack of how you are eased back into performance. That's not what's going on here. It's not. If you are a fantasy football player and you have money at stake in revolving Brandon Aiyuk, be very careful who you listen to, because there are certain people out here are just, it's weird, dude. Some like narrative pushers out here. If you want to know what's really going on with Brandon Aiyuk and you want to know how to use him in fantasy, you have to put him on your bench. You have to put him on your bench. He is unplayable in fantasy football right now. He's not getting opportunity. He's not getting target share. He's not getting all of those things that you need to be able to feel comfortable regarding a wide receiver who's going to produce for you. So again, if we're looking at this from a fantasy standpoint, again, this is clearly when I'm looking at, and the reason why I'm coming at you from fantasy is because it's objective. I'm not looking at this through a 49ers fan. I'm not looking at it through the SF Niners owner and operator. That's not how I'm looking at it. So the best way for me to be objective to you about Brandon Aiyuk is to speak through it through fantasy. And so to speak through it through fantasy, Aiyuk is not getting the target share. He's not getting the opportunity. The game plan doesn't fit what he needs to be successful in that regard. So you funnel all of those things through the perceived number 1 wide receiver, former first round draft pick, losing snaps to Trent Sherfield, Deebo Samuel completely taking off and becoming the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, while Brandon Aiyuk is now averaging 1 catch a game, or 1 target a game. It's not a good situation for Brandon Aiyuk. It doesn't matter however you want to spin it, the hows, the whys, the whatevers. The only thing that you can look at is the production, and he's not producing, and he's not giving the opportunity to produce. So as a result, if you are in fantasy, you are sitting him on your bench. And if you are in dynasty, I would say go out and trade for him. If you are in in redraft leagues that you're just playing for this year, be careful. Be careful going out and paying a lot for him or selling him for too little. It's a really, really weird thing with Brandon Aiyuk. Um, Brad, why do you think? What do you think of people who argue no matter what you play Aiyuk? Um, I'm not sure I'm understanding the question 100%. Why do I think why do you think or why do I think people or what do I think of people who argue no matter what you play Ayuk? Um I I think you're saying like why do people argue no matter what side of the fence you're on? Like what side I would just say I think people want to believe what they want to believe. I think one of the biggest things with 49ers, Twitter is there's camps and you pick your side and you defend your side because again you've attached your reputation and your branding to this subject matter, so you want to become right about what you've attached your branding to. um, I don't care at the end of the day. Like if I had to talk about football and branding, I'm branding myself to be an offensive lineman person. Like I like offensive line play, so I talk about offensive line play. When it comes to what side Ayuk thing I'm on zero side. I'm on the side of trying to understand what is really going on. That's the side I'm going on. That's why I wear a tinfoil hat. I don't care. I don't care who it benefits. All I care is the real information. And the real information is Brandon Ayuk is not getting the target share that he should be getting for a second year wide receiver who had over 700 receiving yards after missing 4 games in 2020. The progression from year one to year two does not match. It does not match. It does not match. So those are the problems. That's why people are raising their hands. That's why people are asking questions. That's why people are like, "Where's Ayuk? Why isn't Ayuk playing?" That's why it became an issue. It's because there's a lot of stuff built into this. There's a lot of stuff built into this, and it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't want to go. I don't want to go down the Brandon Ayuk rabbit hole. I don't. I really don't. Um, I like Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk should be getting opportunity. He's not. That's the fact of the matter. Um, if you have him in fantasy, you are sitting him down. That's the fact of the matter. It is what it is. Um, just just what it is. And again, part of it too, holistically, the offense we talked about not getting in a rhythm. They haven't been in a rhythm early in both games. That will translate into production to guys like Kittle, guys like Aiyuk, guys like Trent Sherfield. I mean, Deebo seems to be the one constant at this point. Um, but that also translates into Kittle too. If the 49ers offense is moving and being efficient and doing what they want to do, again, doing what they want to do versus what they have to do, the offense looks much different. Um, the targets are being spread out a little bit more differently. So it is what it is. If you're either sitting Brandon on your bench or you're going out and you're buying him for as cheap as possible. That's it. And so it is what it is. Um, as long as the offense isn't suffering mightily, the 49ers are still executing, the 49ers are still winning games, then I think it's a good situation to have. Yes, this I saw that. I know which player you're talking about. And this also too can kind of speak to some pressure. Jimmy had some pressure in his face. Maybe wasn't able to step into the throw. Um, so all things to be considered. Um, so with that situation, it is what it is, right? Like we don't have to beat it into the ground anymore. We're not going to argue about anything. It is what it is. Brandon Ayuk is healthy. He's not getting target share and he's not getting opportunity. So that's a fact. It is what it is. Um, and That's the end of the story. It's the end of the story. He had a great catch. He had a fantastic catch. Um, but got to be targeted, got to be used. Um, it is what it is. All right. I went 5 minutes over than I said I was going to go. I think that is a good time to wrap it up. Shout out to Sourdough Squad, as always, for coming through on a Victory Monday and getting us lit per usual. Again, when it comes to what we want to see with the 49ers offense, we can only go up. It just feels like a phase to this season. The 49ers are slowly ramping up. Hopefully we get to see that offense that we have come to know and love against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. We'll hopefully be able to come back and break down some of the tape a little bit further, do all that kind of stuff throughout the week. But for the rest of today, you guys enjoy your Victory Monday. Your 49ers are 2-0. You can now talk all the mess that you want to Lions fans, Eagles fans. Doesn't matter. We'll be back tomorrow around the same time to be breaking it down. Of course, we're always Tuesday is going to be it's the big transactional day, right? It's when roster moves are announced in regards to cuts, waiver pickups, lots of those kinds of things will be coming out. We'll maybe have an idea if the 49ers have signed a running back by tomorrow. And we'll talk about that impact and everything else that comes from it. So, going to be a lot of talk about tomorrow. Hopefully, I will see you all then. Until then, you guys have a great rest of your Victory Monday.